For 50 years, the FBI searched for one answer. Not who hijacked Flight 305, but whether the man they hunted ever reached the ground alive. When investigators began reconstructing the timeline, they faced a problem that would define the entire case. The only witnesses were the flight crew, and their accounts created as many questions as answers. But buried inside those records was a detail that redirected the investigation. The hijacker had given precise technical instructions before moving toward the rear staircase. 10,000 feet, flaps partially extended, and speed reduced. That level of awareness narrowed the search to a specific profile. It suggested a person with extensive flight knowledge and methodical behavior, someone who had carefully thought through the logistics of the attempt. Even with that training, the environment outside was lethal. Weather records described dense cloud cover, freezing rain, and wind patterns shifting violently across Washington state. A 336-page investigative report completed in 1972 attempted to establish a definitive jump timeline using radar returns and aircraft performance calculations. Despite the detail, it could not confirm where the hijacker landed or if he survived the impact. Search teams spent months scouring the Pacific Northwest wilderness and found nothing. The search was effectively doomed because investigators were looking for a landing site rather than focusing on the physical artifacts left behind. Evidence finally arrived 9 years later from an entirely unexpected direction. In 1980, a 9-year-old boy digging along the banks of the Columbia River found 3 deteriorating packets of $20 bills buried in the sand. The serial numbers on those bills matched the original ransom exactly. This discovery created a troubling inconsistency. The terrain where the bills were found did not align with the FBI's estimated jump zone, raising questions about how the money reached the riverbank that have never been resolved. While investigators debated the river discovery, another artifact was producing results that no one anticipated: a black clip-on tie left behind on the aircraft seat. Electron microscope analysis of the tie revealed over 100,000 microscopic particles, including unalloyed titanium, bismuth, and strontium sulfide. These rare materials were associated with specialized aerospace or metallurgical environments in the early 1970s, pointing the investigation toward a very specific professional world. The tie provided a direct forensic link, but it also created a massive complication. The FBI confirmed that 3 separate DNA profiles were recovered from the fabric, meaning it may have been worn by multiple people before the hijacking. These artifacts provided hyper-specific clues, but they also introduced geographical impossibilities and DNA contamination that made a definitive identification even more difficult. Over 5 decades, the FBI evaluated hundreds of names. Only one kept returning to the top of the file: Richard Floyd McCoy, Jr. McCoy was a decorated Army veteran and a Green Beret who had served 2 tours in Vietnam as a helicopter pilot. He was an experienced skydiver with documented precision jump training, possessing the exact skills needed to survive the Flight 305 exit. 5 months after the Cooper hijacking, McCoy committed his own aircraft hijacking using nearly identical methods. He made the same demands, used the same aircraft type, and escaped via the rear staircase. Investigators were so focused on the match that they altered a photograph of McCoy to include the style of sunglasses described by witnesses, using it as a diagnostic tool within the file. Ultimately, the Bureau rolled him out because he did not match the physical descriptions provided by 2 flight attendants. A rejection based on the subjective memory of witnesses in a dark cabin lacks the finality of a scientific exclusion. McCoy remained a central figure because no forensic test had ever truly cleared him. In 2023, McCoy's children made a decision their family had avoided for decades. They finally broke their silence and turned over physical evidence to the FBI. They provided a parachute found on their grandmother's property and a voluntary DNA sample from McCoy's son to be tested against the material recovered from the tie. The FBI took custody of the parachute and returned it in late 2025, without announcing what the testing revealed, maintaining their official stance that the case remains inactive. However, a reported deathbed comment from McCoy's mother added a final layer to the mystery. She claimed her son would have been upset, not about the suspicion, but about not receiving the credit he deserved. The circumstantial case is overwhelming. The aviation knowledge, the jump training, the identical methodology, and the family's long silence all point toward a single name. Yet all of that evidence eventually collides with the clip-on tie sitting in the FBI's evidence room. The investigation is trapped in a paralyzing paradox. One of the 3 DNA profiles on that tie belongs to the man investigators have hunted for 50 years, but there is currently no way to know which one it is.